There's another shadow, Mr Flanagan, please.
I'm also a member of the Agri Committee, and there is concern within the Agri Committee about levels of spending dropping, and how do we make sure that that doesn't continue to happen. And I suppose the phrase that was used by the Commissioner, that citizens need to trust a policy, that is the core of it, because the money initially comes out of citizens' pockets, and no more than if you go into a shop, you want to guarantee good money and you monitor that yourself. Obviously people can't do that when the money goes into the general taxation system, so they rely on us, and for citizens to trust that policy, it's got to make sense. How can they trust a policy, for example, in Ireland, where 80% of the CAP, which comes out of everybody's pockets, and we're net contributors now, so more of it comes out of our pockets. The farmers that got the 80% of the money, they happen to be the richest 20% of farmers. But did they produce more goods than anyone else? They actually only produced 30%. So if it was about production, which is not meant to be, but if that was the argument, that goes out the window. So in the mid-term review, will there be a real drive to change this? What can the Commission do to make a common agricultural policy common? Because there's nothing common about this system. We need something done about this, because it can't be justified. I represent people on farms, I represent people off farms, in towns. And for them to hear, well, this makes sense, that the Queen in England can get massive payments and someone in England, another farmer in England, can't get virtually anything, or the king of the beef industry in Ireland can get 400,000 or 500,000 a year. You can't stand by that. And eventually this house of cards is going to collapse, because there's less money around and people are asking questions. So the question I'm asking is, what will be done in the mid-term review to avoid further downward pressure?
Productivity is linked, I suppose, towards incentives, and there was incentives to production in the past, which is now, of course, not possible under WTO rules. So it's more of an area-based system. So whether you farm your land intensively or not, you're going to get the same level of payment. The interpretation of our various policies is often problematic. You have to say there is some gold plating that takes place on the rural development side in particular. Deputy Flanagan, I mentioned earlier about the capping was proposed by the Commission, rejected by the co-legislators on the last occasion. We will try again and we will see what will happen in the future. It's an area-based payment, and this explains why it's based on land. We don't decide who owns the land, but if you obviously have a larger producer, a larger number of acres or hectares, you're going to get more payments. But there's a cap that we proposed on the last occasion, and this wasn't accepted to co-legislators. Again, these are opportunities that will arise in 2017 in terms of whether you want a flat rate, whether you want a modulated rate, or areas or issues of digressivity or capping. Everybody will get an opportunity to put forward that view.
Well, I think we've a lot to learn from farmers. Mr. Flanagan asked for the floor. Go ahead, briefly.
Just a clarification on there. You've said there will be no full mid-term review, and that's disappointing. I'm getting mixed messages when you then say, in relation to flattening, it will arise again in 2017. And Mr. Gerbrandy mentioned then that will be another 5 years. Is that it? There will be no review, proper full mid-term review, where MEPs will get a chance to put right the wrong that they did the last time, and to make flattening more likely. Is this going to be included in some form of mid-term review?
Mr. Flanagan, if you make a proposal today, it will come into force about 2019. So if we do it as part of the opportunity you have in 2017 is the omnibus regulation, and that presents a suite of proposals that will go to ComAgri, which can be subject to amendment. So, you have an opportunity there. But there will be a public consultation from January to April that will allow all stakeholders to have an opportunity to say what they feel is appropriate.